कालीकूर्चसमायुक्तमाया कोडोपदेशतः प्रणवार्तप्रबोधिन्यौ नमामि गुरुपादुके श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः क्रीं मात्रे नमः नमः सदसे. Good evening to one and all. We are continuing on with the comments of Mr. Kailashi, and on that note, the following comments, there is a lot of misinformation and variation which I would like to clarify. So there is nothing wrong in being not fully informed, but the crux of the matter, whatever Mr. Kailashi is saying here, is valid. So we will be understanding that and we will be proceeding with that. On that note, 41st point. More than a year ago, Nityananda did a program called Kayakalpa Yoga. He had promised living for eternity to all the participants who attended. They will never fall sick, no ailments, and they will live forever to whatever age as they desired, without the body aging. I dare Nityananda to release the data of all those participants so the world could do a benchmark. Now, Kayakalpa is a practice which is for doing cell level cleansing in the body. This is a very famous practice in the system of yoga, and it is being done as a part of the Bhuta Shuddhi or the Buddha Shuddhi process, which wherein we are cleansing the body using the elements and also using Aushadhis and other processes. So there is a Kayakalpa process from almost every yogic organization that has ever existed in India, and this Kayakalpa process, the ultimate aim of Kayakalpa is to make this Kaya live for a Kalpa. That is the purpose of a process. A Kalpa is a very long period of time. I don't want to go into that multiple time measurements right now, but let us just understand one Kalpa is like 16 yugas, that much long. So the Kaya should live for that long. That is the promise of Kayakalpa. But essentially, practically, what is Kayakalpa is to maintain the body without getting any disorders in the internal vital organs, so that we can perform our sadhana till the end of the life without any impediments. That is the purpose of Kayakalpa. But as usual, Nityananda made this promise that by doing this Kayakalpa, you can live for as long as you want without getting any kind of ailments or sickness whatsoever in your body. And I would like to search and find some videos on when he is speaking about this Kayakalpa, so that I can do a separate video on that. But now Mr. Kailashi and myself, we are asking, please provide the records, health records of people who have done this Kayakalpa. There should be some kind of testing process in place to prove that. If that is not the case, then those who are practicing Kayakalpa, come to me. I will take care of the expenses for sending lab technicians to you to do regular testing on you, let us say for 6 months every week. I will bear the expense. I will find somebody who can bear the expense, or I myself will bear the expense, so that I want at least 5 to 10 participants of Kayakalpa who are doing that practice, and for every week we will have a lab testing done for you. I am giving this open challenge to Nityananda Sangha and Nityananda followers. You provide me people, I will nominate the lab facility for you. I will keep on changing the lab facility so that there will be no bias, or you cannot say I bribed everybody. So we will do this, or even if you want through government lab facility, I will make sure that it is being arranged, and we can do this testing and we can see the results as to whether you got, even if you get a single common cold or headache or dysentery or vomiting, you are gone. Then Kayakalpa is not working for you. That is the lofty promise made by Nityananda. I am openly challenging you to this. I am not saying Kayakalpa itself cannot exist, because Bharati himself is stating about one of his gurus, Kayakalpam Seiduvittan Ivan Varnalai Kanakittu Vaiduraipar Yarumillai. Kullachami has done Kayakalpa. Kullachami is one of the gurus of Subramanya Bharati, and he is saying Kullachami has done Kayakalpa. So there is nobody who can calculate his age and calculate his lifespan and say his age. It is there, the practice has been there, it is effective. But I am only saying I want to test if this fellow is able to give that out, because like all the other promises that he has made, this has come to a failing area as well. And that is my current hypothesis, that is my null hypothesis. I am willing to disprove my null hypothesis, but I want sample data for that. If you are willing to give me that research opportunity, I am very honest in research and I will be producing the results openly on a weekly basis. So that being said, Back in 2010, when his sex scandal erupted, he ditched everyone in the ashram, saving only his ass. He ran away. Had everyone heard of any Paramashiva or Paramahamsa or Sannyasi running away? There you go. All the ashram inmates left their family, comfort, security, and landed in a foreign land just to be with Nityananda. But he just ditched everyone and left, just to save his ass. He knew what he did was wrong, so he ran away. Now again in 2019 he ran again. He again ditched all of his disciples and believers and ran. This is not if this is not evident enough for you guys, then I do not know what else will be clearly put to you, or what else will be clear evidence to you. So how can a master ditch his believers? Isn't that pure self-centered? Not once but twice. So then he is giving an example of an incident of Ramalinga Vallalar, wherein he is saying that it was about the title Swami that was the dispute. Actually that is not the case. So he is saying now Kailashi is saying Ramalinga Vallalar was given the title Swami. Many Hindus did not like that title, so they raised the case against Ramalinga Swami Vallalar in the court, and the moment the judge he attended the case, and the moment the judge saw him, he bowed down. So this is the incident that Kailashi is giving. Actually this is not the right one, but there is an incident like this in Ramalinga Vallalar or Ramalinga Swami's life. I will tell you what it is. I'll explain this thing to you, and I'll also explain another court case when another real enlightened being went to the court. Two incidents I will tell you. First incident of Vallalar is that Vallalar wrote Thiruvisaipa based on the Saiva Siddhanta texts. There was another great saint called Arumuga Navalar, great enlightened being, realized person called Arumuga Navalar in Sri Lanka, who was the authority for Saiva Siddhanta at that time. So he said this person Vallalar has no rights to interpret Saiva Siddhanta in this manner. He has no rights to interpret Saiva Siddhanta as Samarasa Sanmarga. So he has no qualifications to do that. This was the case that Arumuga Navalar raised against Vallalar. Now Vallalar did not run away. He came and faced the court in the case. That is the point here about in comparison to Rajashekhar. Let us leave that part alone. So that is the point. But after that, what happened is very, very beautiful. And on one side, on the defendant side, Arumuga Navalar is standing. On the offendant side, on the persecuted person's side, Vallalar is standing. So these two people are supposed to be arguing like lions in the court, because this person is saying he has no rights whatsoever to speak about Saiva Siddhanta, and Vallalar is saying I have all the rights to speak about Saiva Siddhanta, it is my internal realization. So two giants. So it was supposed to be some kind of huge argument that was going to happen, high ideological fight that is going to happen, something like that. There were so many reporters, everybody was there in the court, and the moment they saw each other, Arumuga Navalar is doing Namaskaram to Vallalar, and Vallalar is doing Namaskaram to Arumuga Navalar. Then they are both hugging each other, and there is a lot of tear in both of their eyes. They are getting completely into ecstasy seeing one another. And the judge was like, what the hell is happening here? He dismissed the case and said, please take these two madmen out of my court. So this is how the realized souls and great masters, great theologians and great scholars will react to one another. The respect, the amount of value that was given for the actual learning, these kinds of beautiful incidents. There are hundreds of incidents wherein supposedly ideologically there will be a huge difference, but when it comes down to spirituality, the respect is of such a high level that everything will be dissolved. There are so many incidents like this in our culture and in our history. Another issue, there was one person, I forgot his name. He actually raised a case against Ramanashram, saying it is wrong that the property deeds are going to be transferred in the name of Ramana's brother, so Ramana Maharshi's brother. So this was the case that he raised, and in order to make this clear, Ramana Maharshi has to sign the document to appear in the court. And Ramana Maharshi said, I cannot sign because the name that I am going to sign So the name that I want to sign, that I should sign, is not my identity. It is something that you are calling me in order to identify this form separate from that form. I am not accepting that as my name, so I will not sign. This is what he said. Finally, the case has to happen, otherwise the ashram will be gone, the entire work will be gone. So people compelled him. Then he came up for signing. And at the end of that document, wherever he has to sign, he just put a dash. And he said, you want my signature, this is my signature. There is no signature for this particular being, because Atma I cannot name how it is, self I cannot explain it, I cannot name the self. I cannot sign anything like Atma, ATMA or something, because that is not the name which it has, it is the name that we have identified it by. So even that is not applicable to that. But still he came to the court and he attended the case. So it is very, very rare that realized beings and gurus will be persecuted in India if they are real masters from the tradition. But whatever incident has happened, for example, take the case of the fake allegation of Kanchi Shankaracharya, the last pontiff, His Holiness Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswami here. So even he attended the case. He did not run away anywhere. He did not avoid the court. He faced the justice, and even before his passing away, the case was dissolved. He was evicted. He was not convicted. He was evicted of all the wrongdoings that he has been accused of. So that is the reality. So if there is truth on your part, then you have to face the process of law. If there is no truth on your part, if you know in the heart of your hearts that you are a criminal, that is the point when you will run away, and that is exactly what Nityananda's running away indicates to all of us. And that is the whole single point on which great journalist Arnab Goswami, when he was speaking, he was only asking one question: where is Nityananda? Whole India will remember him continuously asking this question in his own style, in his own ferocious style: where is Nityananda? So why had he run away? That is the whole question that I am posting right now. So if there is no justice in the justice system at all, if that is what you are trying to say, then why are you raising cases against everybody using the same justice system? If you think there is no justice in Indian justice system, that is the response that I am getting from them. When I am asking why did Nityananda run away from the court case, why is he not appearing in the court case? Answer is, well, because Indian justice system is so corrupted, it is anti-Hindu activity, so he will not be getting proper justice. That is why he is running away and he is not appearing in the court. Okay, then till date you have raised so many cases against so many people who have spoken against you. The last case that you filed was against the Child Welfare Commission, CWC, around 14 authorities, police officers and child welfare officers, using the same justice system of India. If you do not believe in the justice system, then why are you using the justice system to persecute those who are speaking out against you, those who are taking action against you? Again, same scenario. You can either have the cake or you can eat it. You cannot have the cake and eat it. That is not possible. But every single activity done by the disciples of Nityananda is only gearing towards one thing. If it comes to them, all the logic will be different. If it comes to others, all the logic will be different. If it is blood for them and it is tomato ketchup for others. That is their logic. If it comes for them, then it is blood. If it comes for me, then it is tomato ketchup. That is their concept. So based on these kinds of biased and these kinds of totally hypocritic logic, we can clearly see that they are just finding various corners to turn around to and various faces to show during various situations, and none of this can be accepted as an activity of an enlightened being, leave alone none of this can be accepted as an activity of a decent law-abiding human being, decent law-abiding citizen. Nityananda is neither of these two, let alone a enlightened being or whatever he calls himself to be. Next is the 43rd point. Nityananda said he will make the cows and animals speak in Sanskrit and Tamil. I'd like Nityananda to declassify all his ashram records and data to show the whole world how many animals had started speaking in human languages. Nityananda said he can reprogram the vocal cord of animals into human beings or into human-like. Again, let us pull the records of our ancient Hindu history. Has any masters done this before? Now, I am not saying it is not possible in Hinduism, everything is possible, but what I am saying is, if Brahma really thought it would do good for mankind if animals could speak an uniform language as humans, wouldn't Brahma have created an uniform language, ever since creation? So is Nityananda trying to outsmart Brahma? I think there will be a little bit of background noise there. Yes, hopefully the background noise is gone now. So as I was telling you, here this is one of the most infamous statements that Nityananda has made. That is, he said he will make monkeys, cows and crows talk. Whatever, crows or not, I don't know, but monkeys and cows for sure talk in Sanskrit and in Tamil. So he will raise their consciousness to a certain level that their vocal cords will develop in order for that to happen. So that was his. Sorry for the interruption again. So as I was telling you, the whole point here is, this is one of the infamous statements made by Nityananda, and he has not done anything about it so far. So my question is this: you are making stupendous claims day in and day out. You are saying you stopped the sun, you are saying you will make animals speak, you are saying you will make people float. All of these things you are saying, but none of this is happening, and you are jumping on to the next stupendous claim. What is that you are trying to do here? You are simply moving from one lofty tale to another lofty tale, and you are simply thinking everybody listening is a fool. And what are you banking on? Let us say I am starting giving 200 conspiracy theories from tomorrow onwards in each of my videos. I am saying, Trump is responsible for corona, or Vajpayee ji's this one Atma is responsible for corona, or I am saying it is because of Kalanger's death corona happened. I am starting to say all of these things, and I am also saying I can cure corona with a snap of my finger, or I can go to the moon and bring moonstones and come back. Tomorrow I will be having 10 moonstones in my home, which I can give for any meteorological department for testing. So I am saying these things today. I am not doing any of these things today. Tomorrow I am saying I am going to get Mars stones. Then where will I be? And suddenly I am saying I am going to nominate a person, and that person will become Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu in 3 years time. So where will you put me? You will obviously put me in a mental hospital, and that is where Nityananda belongs as well. But if you are believing that, and if you are working with your heart and soul and your life, everything for a person who is saying that, then you are the person who has to be put in the mental hospital before you are putting the fellow who is saying all these things. So please take some psychiatric counseling, all of the foolish idiotic followers of Nityananda. I am calling you all sorts of names because I have to shake you to wake you up. So I am calling you all sorts of names. If you come out of his Sangha, I will personally apologize to you. If you come and ask me, why did you call me like that when I was mad? So I will tell you, you are mad. That is the reason why I had to call you like that, to wake you up. And I will also apologize on a personal level. That is different. So I am only saying one of the most infamous claims still lays as a claim, and nobody is questioning him inside the ashram. I dare any of Nityananda devotees to ask anybody who is higher up to you 3 questions about Nityananda. First question: if he does not believe in the legal process, then why are we persecuting others using the same legal process? Question number 1. From this video itself we will ask. First question. Second question: if he is saying this kalpataru, this kaya kalpa process is going to avoid illness for everybody, then why are those who are having this particular kaya kalpa, having done this particular kaya kalpa practice, getting sick? Second question. Third question: okay, he said he will make animals speak, why nothing is done towards that? So these 3 questions, just from this one single video, you just ask these 3 questions to anybody who is higher up, and say, I am not going to stop asking this question. I will ask this on a daily basis. I am not rebelling or protesting or anything like this. I am just asking this question to know, but I want to know the answer. Just see the reaction. They will immediately start chastising you. They will say you are in the state of Guru Droha, you are not following the guru, you are becoming an anti-Hindu, all these things they will say, and you will be thrown out of the ashram very soon, and you will be called a repressive person, or whatever the name that is given in the Nityananda Scientology terminology to you, probably a person who is in Gurudroha. That is same as the repressive person in Scientology. So that is exactly what will happen to you if you start asking questions as well. Then you will realize that questioning is not what Nityananda wants. He simply wants blind obedience from you. That is why you are a bunch of brainwashed idiots. That being said, next is a very important point, and probably we will end with this point. Okay, so Nityananda always says he lives with only limited items as a sannyasi. He always says a neem branch as toothbrush, 2 sets of sannyasa robes, and a pair of sannyas sandals. Okay, now let us get to the real world. He owns iPads, about 20 plus golden plated thrones, 4 of 100% silver plated spinning chairs, pure gold and jewels in different patterns, more than 300 kg, diamond studded with pure gold diamond studded pure gold head crowns, 13 of them, thousands of hand stitched silk robes, thousands of acres of lands under his name, his mother's name, brother's name, and Ranjita's name. So many precious stones and properties all over the world donated to his ashram, but eventually it changed to the hands of his family members, to the names of his family members. Now the problem here is Nityananda actually disowned everything and then reowned everything. He said he is not the owner, or he is not the president or founder of the Nityananda Sangha. Then once again he claimed back that title. This was just a gimmick that he did in the middle in order to avoid property or asset freezing, because he is going to be jailed. And once he came out of jail, the case is not over. Let me clearly tell you, the case is not over. The Nityananda sex scandal case is still going on. In the ashram they are simply saying it is over, while it is still there in the courts. Point number 1. Point number 2. Nityananda has not appeared in the court after being remanded ever again. He thought that he is going to get away, but when he went into remand he understood he cannot escape, and after that he never appeared in the court. So the case is still going on. So at that point of time, in order to escape his properties from being frozen, he signed off the ownership of everything, but later on he came back and claimed the ownership of the Sangha. Not only that, he transferred a lot of property in the name of his brother, in the name of his mother, and in name of Ranjita, whom we all know is one of the co-criminals of Nityananda. So exactly what happened was, he just swindled the property around, and once again everything now belongs to Nityananda or his families. So that is the reality of it, and all the list of things that I read out that belongs to Nityananda, there is a lot more to add to that as well, and and his claim of living a simple life is simply nonsense. That is the reality of it. And he is a person who likes luxury, who wants luxury. He has come from a background, he has come from a ecosystem wherein he understood that spirituality can be encashed, and his target audience are very clearly 3 people: foreigners who are looking for spirituality, rich people who do not want to stand in a crowd, and NRIs who have lost their roots and searching for spirituality. So these 3 are the exact target audience of the 50 to 60 fake ashrams that are there in Tiruvannamalai, that he has been seeing from his childhood, and he has been growing in that atmosphere, in that ecosystem. So that is there in his blood to swindle money from others and to live in that luxury, and that is not going to change anytime soon. Then the 46th point, many times people have asked Nityananda to demonstrate a couple of yoga postures. His answer is very simple: I will fall into samadhi if I perform a yoga. Let us pull our rich Hinduism historical records. For example, Divine Life Society, Swami Sivananda, he had written many books, many on yoga, and here he is for sure a realized master, because many other powerful yogis had gone all the way to visit him in his Rishikesh ashram. Just too many saints visited Swami Sivananda. Even till today his samadhi vibrates as though it is still sitting there with a physical body. Swami Sivananda had demonstrated in yoga postures in front of many followers, and did he fall into samadhi? Our Nityananda claims he is Lord Shiva, Meenakshi, Perumal, Avatar, all that is him, but he cannot have complete control over his body mechanism. This is pure stupidity. Now this is the problem, this is the question that I have been asking for a very long time. Had anyone seen Nityananda perform yoga himself? At least the asanas. Is he having even that simple flexibility in the body to do an asana successfully? The answer that I am constantly getting is nobody has seen him do even yogasana. That is the reality of it. For all the yoga that he is teaching, nobody has seen him perform yogasana. Okay, now the reason here Kailashi is giving is really marvelous. He is saying Nityananda is claiming that he will fall into samadhi if he is performing yoga. Okay, do the asana, fall into samadhi, and be in that samadhi, but that asana in the samadhi state forever. I don't care. Are you saying samadhi as in you will completely go away? So suicide by yogasana, that will be a new trend, new record. The reason that is being given here is only acceptable to somebody who is either completely an idiot or has sold his brains to Nityananda. Everybody else, just common sense, you don't have to use any knowledge of the scriptures, anything, just common sense. I am saying I am a yoga master, I am a master, I am an enlightened being, all those things, and you are asking me to perform a single asana. I am saying I will fall into samadhi if I perform asana. Then does it take any knowledge of anything else other than your basic common sense to see that what I am saying is just an excuse because I don't know how to do yoga? That is the reality of it. Not only this, anything that Nityananda is claiming to teach, if you ask him to do it himself, then he will come up with an excuse and say, if I do this, this will happen to me, that will happen to me. Now the problem is there is no record of his journey towards whatever he is claiming to be. All his stories about himself are only his statements, and there is nobody who is backing that up. And wherever we go, we are only finding stories about Nityananda being debunked, not being accepted as true. So he is creating this whole narrative about himself, and he is saying, I practice this, I practice that. But when we ask him to show one of his practices right now, he is not able to come up with even a single proof, even a single evidence that he has practiced that particular method. For example, we spoke about Sri Vidya as well on the same note. Nityananda said that he has seen he has seen a Sri Chakra in his view, and that Sri Chakra is what is being manufactured by Indra Puja metal stores. I went and asked them and they were laughing. That is different. Then another thing here is that Nityananda claimed that he has been initiated into Sri Vidya, but even the Shodashi mantra he is actually reading from his piece of paper. So he did not even do the japa for Sri Vidya. So the same pattern, same mold applies to everything that he is saying. He will say that he has reached the highest position in something. Then he will say, first highest position in something, then he will say, I am going to give that highest position directly to you. Second point. Third one, he will say, in order to reach that highest position, you don't have to do the sadhana, you just fall to my feet. 4. If I ask you to perform what you are saying, to show the proof that you have mastered this practice, I am not only not finding the proof, I am also seeing that you are woefully ignorant of the whole concept. By your own words, by your own explanation of the concept, I can see that you have simply googled something and you are spewing it out. That I have proven in each concept in each of my videos. So this is the point number 40. 1 minute. 46. Yes. I'm sorry. 40. 46. 246 points he has written. So it is probably one more point that is missing. We will come back to that. So point number 46, Nityananda's yoga, this thing, in comparison to Swami Shivananda, even in comparison to Jagi Vasudev, we can see the Baba Ramdev, all these people. I am not saying they are realized, they are not realized. I am not coming into that. I am only saying if you are teaching yoga, then you have to be able to perform that. That is the basic qualification. We are seeing all the other people, let us say they are only yoga teachers. Let us take it to that level. We will not go into any other argument. Okay. Even if you are a yoga teacher, you have to know how to do yoga. But this fellow says, I will go into samadhi if I am doing an asana. So this is the hypocrisy, this is the fakery of this person, and he does not care about anything because he so strongly believes that you Nityananda disciples are all brainwashed idiots. If you break this, then he will realize that he cannot fool you, and probably then there will be a little bit of truth to what is being done. That being said, we will end this video. Racham yora vranimahe gatam yajnaya gatam yajnapataye daivi swastirastunah swastirmanushebhyah ordanjigadu beshajam shanno astudvipate sanjatushpate am shanti shanti shanti. Namasadase.